so I want to call the meeting to order. It is 2:01 p.m.
I think this should have been handled, in my opinion, much differently than the way you did it. You read it last week, the last meeting. We've had no contact with anybody since. Can you remember, could anybody here remember the whole policy that you're trying to put in?
Well, we have a copy here.
Yeah, you got a copy, nobody else had a copy. Nobody's had a chance to look at it, review it, and see what's in it. Because it sounds like it's going to affect all the tenants, period. Not just some, but all of them. And because of that, I think the tenants should have had a better opportunity than you're giving them to take a look at it and bring their concerns and opinions back to you. So I respectfully request that you put the vote off till the next meeting and get copies out to all the tenants so they could take a look at it.
All we really did was change.
Because I take issue with several of them, several
Okay.
of the points.
Okay, so we'll take that under advisement and we'll have a discussion after the, later here when we talk about the participation policy. We'll include that in our public discussion here today about your request. So.
Sorry, Joe, I couldn't hear you.
Okay, I said that when we get to agenda item number 5, our discussion today of the public participation policy, at that point we will include in that discussion your request that we hold the vote off and that we
Okay.
get the information to everyone to further comment on.
All right, so
Okay.
you review my request then?
Yes, so we will
Okay,
review your
good.
request as part of item 5.
That's all I asked, Joe.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. State your name. Are you
Does
next?
anybody, do you have
I'm not
anything?
speaking.
Oh, you're not speaking, okay. It's just convenient. Hang on. Ladies, do any of you want to speak? Do you have anything for public comment? No? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so the next is the director's report.
So, about the manganese that the DEV got in touch with us on, I received an email from Christine Samard today. Her and Bob Flagg from East National Water had a discussion about it, and Bob basically said that when they came and they took the 2 samples on April 5th, they mistagged them. So there's a before treated and an after treated, and they were just mixed up. So there really isn't a problem with the manganese here. So she sent me some paperwork. I've attached one of it with the highlight of that explains it. I'm going to post it on the board. I let the Board of Health know what she has said. So we're all set with that for now.
That's a pretty bad mistake
Yeah,
to have been made.
yeah. He explained to her that we have never had problems with the manganese here. They do their testing quarterly. So she basically said, okay, we'll see what happens the next quarter when you do it, and we'll kind of go from there. That it could have been a really costly mistake. So I haven't spoken to him again about it since he's talked to her. We still have 2 vacancies here at Finns Hill. They'll go really quickly. One should be in within a month, and then the other one was one of our handicap units. She's moved into a facility, so her brother has till the end of the month to get the stuff out, and then we'll go from there. Up at Hillside, we have 2 tenants that are falling behind on their rent. I'm in contact with them. One has signed an agreement to pay each week. If she doesn't pay, then I can start proceedings against her, and the other one is had COVID and is still feeling the effects of it, so she's out of work a lot. So there's that. We did the annual inspections this week, and there are really no major problems up there that need to be taken care of. Jim and Dakota have a list of, little stuff that can be fixed. And then I did have the court hearing with the tenant that moved out up there that owed us money. At the advice of Attorney Liable, we agreed on her paying us $200 and us writing off the balance.
That's a bad deal.
Yep,
for us.
it's not what I wanted to do, but he,
Yeah.
he felt that it was best to do that.
Right.
The court mediator felt the same way because of the way everything's going with COVID, and, it didn't matter that she did what she did, but it, so.
Yeah, she just, right, the
She's-
attorney said she just can't pay. I
Well,
mean,
no, we found out that she wasn't telling us about all her income.
Oh.
So we went
so
back
this was
on
the
it,
bad
and,
stuff, okay.
the balance, that's what we're writing off as a 16. So she owed us 18, and, now I'm not in housing, now I have to pay regular rent, now, yada, 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 yada. So he said, just take the settlement for 200 and write the rest off.
So in reality, we always collected rent, but we just didn't collect the rent that she actually owed us under the,
Well, she neglected, when she turned in her rent determinations, she didn't tell us she was getting child support. When we found out she was getting child support, we went after the back on it. Excuse me. And then she, when we started the proceedings to get the back child support, or the back rents, including the child support, is when she moved out.
okay.
So, so there's that. Our seasonal maintenance guy started, Dennis. This week, he's, weed whacking away.
Is he a tenant?
He is a tenant here. There is a clause in the, that DHCD likes to, in the 760 CMR, that if a tenant applies for a job and is equally as qualified as anybody else who applies for it, then you have to give the tenant preference. He happens to be qualified for it. He used to cut grass for the town, so, quite qualified for it. So he's been working up at, this week he's been up at Hillside, getting all their weed whacking done. And then we had Dakota, Jim, Kevin from Rise Engineer on the heat pumps, had a meeting this week. And I put the little attachment Dakota wrote up on what's going on.
Do these units produce both the cold and the hot air? Mm-hmm. So are they better with one or the other?
I think most of the problem is from the heat. Am I correct, Dakota?
Sorry?
Dakota, am I correct that the majority of the cleaning problems with the heat pumps is from the heat aspect, or is it?
Through the transition of seasons,
Yeah.
cooling to heating.
So that's where the problem is, just during the transition?
Well, that's when it's found.
Oh, that's when it's found.
Stop.
Okay.
Yeah, when they start.
And what percentage of the heat pumps have this problem?
Overall,
Yeah, like right now, so if we have, what do we have, how many pumps do we have and how many pumps have had the problem? I'm just curious. 10%, 20, 30?
Well, there's 72 pumps,
72
heat pumps.
pumps in the facility that are in units.
Mm-hmm.
And to date, since we've started cleaning them with steam, I believe we're able to reach a higher temperature, so if there were spores or anything in there that were causing the issue to return, they aren't anymore. The spot checks that we did, there was only one unit that had an issue out of the ones that were cleaned after the site visit last time with Rise Engineering.
Okay.
Good.
So the nice thing is Kevin is working with us to come up with a solution to the problem and not just wiping his hands of it.
That
So-
doesn't cost us a lot of
Right.
money.
Isn't there an issue too with candles and other air freshener contaminants?
Yeah.
How's that going?
The one unit that was really bad, he had said that he uses the air freshener around it, but he has since said that he has stopped, and his didn't seem, they said wasn't really an issue this time, but they don't know whether it's because this last time they were all steam cleaned, whereas before they were just, they weren't cleaned that way, so it's hard to say what is, what the cause of it them being okay right now is.
He was actually spraying into the unit?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it sent the smell out.
Yeah.
And then left some sort of residue. I mean,
Yep, yeah.
that's bad.
Yeah, so that's that. Then the front hallways, that's just kind of we're not quite sure what we're gonna do with that. I have a conference call with our RCAT guy, Hugh, on Monday on which way we wanna go. Whether we want to just replace the flooring, or if there are any doors that need to be replaced, do we do that?
And refresh the reason we're replacing the doors, was that for higher security, or was that because they needed the replacement?
I'm not quite sure why it was put in the scope of work. It wasn't my, I think because they're original doors. This was one of those projects from before I was here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they wanted to just replace the existing doors with new fiberglass commercial grade doors.
So
Instead
safety.
of the wood for
Yeah.
the safety.
I thought all the mailboxes were gone.
No, they're still in the walls and they're gonna stay there, because until.
But they're not using them, right?
They're not using them, no.
Yeah.
But they're still in the walls, and part of this was to remove them and fix the walls and then have the walls repainted. But that's something we're gonna have to have maintenance do on our own, because there's no way we can.
So but we're having no money for this project, or?
We only have $50,000 for it.
And originally that would have done
That-
it before?
When this project was created 5 years ago, yeah, it would have been okay.
Those doors must be made of gold.
Yeah.
I know,
Over $4,000 for a door?
yeah. So
Doing
that's.
the math? Holy mackerel.
No, that's just
Well, that's-
the pandemic inflation that we're suffering right
I
now.
know.
I mean, plywood at $100 a sheet, I've seen it as
Yeah,
high as,
but-
I mean, just.
Well, 50,000 was gonna paint, doors, tiles, and handrails, and now it will do just the floor
The
tiles.
tiles, yeah.
So-
If we're lucky, it'll
Yeah.
do just the tiles. So, the discussion we have to have, maintenance and I have to have is, do we take care of one building, everything, or do we do just all the floors? Or do we,
Well, as much as you look at everything and the cost of the doors, these doors are fire retardant, safety, et cetera. I don't necessarily think that, for the other stuff we can afford to get done under that, I don't think that we should go away. Can we apply, given that, can we request more money back from DHCD, or would they come back to us, say, yes, you can spend more money, but you got to go into your own till there and
well, we
use
would
the
have
funds?
to rearrange some of the projects that we have coming up and try to, and try and take the money from other projects to do this. It's a matter of juggling, what exactly do you want done here? We're still trying to find the money to do the roof, the second roof that was supposed to be done, but didn't have money to do, So it's, I think every project, the reality is not going to be enough money to do what the whole thing says it's going to do.
Isn't the flooring a safety issue? Aren't there holes in some of them? Haven't we heard some of the tenants complain about that?
In the hallways,
Yeah.
there are some that are cracked and pieces have come off, and there are some hallways that are spotless. There's no rhyme or reason to it, so, now we're looking at are there any apartment doors that need to be replaced? Are there any hallways especially that need to be redone? And then, do we piecemeal it here, there, and here, or do we just take care of one building at a time? So it's just a matter of,
You'd have to do the worst ones first.
right. So,
I'm just asking, is there any process that we would go back and say, hey, given the pandemic, this is extraordinary, we need back from you an additional $30,000 and see what they say?
well,
Or is that something
the
that's in-
$30,000 is just gonna be, if you do that to replace the doors, those are just the doors. You're not getting any of the tiles or anything done. So.
Okay, well,
We
then
have
it's
the
an
50.
additional
You
50,000.
have the 50 and you get 30.
We
more.
have,
No.
right, we have 50,000
Right.
for it. I mean, the project, the total of the project is 70-something, but then you have to pay the architect and all of the others that have to be involved in it. So we really have 50,000 for construction costs. But you have to, I mean, at that point, like when we had to replace up at Hillside last month or the month before, we had to redo the piping from the furnaces. So what they did was they took that $6,000, but they took it from another project from us, from money that's allocated to us. So now something else has to be realigned,
Right.
so we can't, so I mean, I can sit down with Hugh and say, okay, we want to do all of this. What is it going to cost to do all of it? But then we have to take money from, other places, and it would have to be done in steps anyways, because you don't get enough every year. So until we know, until Jim and Dakota can actually go out and find out, how many doors need to be replaced, and how many hallways are in really, really bad shape, and we sit down with Hugh and go over it, I'm not quite sure how much money extra money we're gonna actually need.
Okay. Well, I just think, I know that being on the town finance committee, I see these weekly or whatever, I'm linked into all the emails, the governor, so now this budget, this department's getting more, the governor's will approve a budget that spends $750 million or whatever more and stuff like that. And so I'm just wondering, in this narrow time when we have, I would say the cost of materials, this escalating cost, extraordinary cost, because everybody says inflation's low, but no, construction materials, even used cars, I saw a stat, used cars are up 45% since June of last year. So everything there, the plywood, and maybe we can get see if they can scrounge from the governor or somebody, more money that would allow us to offset more of this instead of it coming
Okay.
out of our pockets. So,
I can,
yeah, I'm just saying ask, I'm not saying.
yep, no,
I'm not saying you're
definitely
gonna
have
be
that
successful.
conversation,
It's,
with them to
yeah,
figure it out.
okay.
So, other than that, that's really it.
Okay. Any other questions regarding director's report?
So when do you think you would sit with your maintenance people to go through and get an analysis of what to do?
Well, Jim's on vacation for the rest of
Okay.
the week. He'll be back on Monday. So
And you're out a few days next week.
Right, I'm out a few days next week, but Monday they're gonna go through, he's gonna go through and look at it. Monday afternoon, we'll sit down and, Hugh
So maybe
told me.
by our next meeting, you'll have a little
Yep,
more of
oh
an
yeah,
idea.
by next
Okay.
meeting, definitely.
Right.
The architect is, we're all in, architect's ready to go on all of it, because he'll be making money, and so it's just a matter of what we agree to.
Okay.
And if you go too long, he's got to redo the plans,
Oh, no.
so. Remember how many times we did the town
Yeah.
building and how many millions of dollars we spent? Or, because we had to update the
studies.
plans, the studies,
Yep.
right? Okay. Okay, so now, Now we get to the next topic, which is the public participation policy. Now, refresh my memory regarding, you put this together along with the lawyer, right?
I asked for so I went to the school, the superintendent of schools, and I asked for a copy of theirs. I sent out a couple of emails to area housing authorities and asked them for a copy, copies of theirs. The lawyer said, these people have pretty good ones, go, get a hold of them.
Okay.
So what I did was I took it, I felt that the school committees was, from Granby was pretty much the best one. Northampton doesn't allow anybody to speak. Flat out doesn't allow anybody to speak. South Hadley allows tenants only, 3 minutes, that's it. So everybody is just way off. Nobody is kind of the same way on anything. So I felt was the board of school committees was the best. So I went through, I changed some items because some of it didn't pertain to us. Some of it, I added some stuff in. I sent it to the lawyer. He sent it back, and that's what I presented last month. Then I got a hold of him and said that Gloria wanted, or the board wanted, the employees to not be able to comment or address the board unless the board addresses them. And he said, okay, so I sent him what I had, and he said that it was fine.
Okay. So one interesting thing you commented on, and that was that some towns, I don't know, was it South Hadley, that only allows town residents?
They only allow housing authority residents to speak, and they give them 3 minutes. Now, I have 15 minutes in here, but realistically, that's just 5 people. If you give 5 people 3 minutes, that's the 15 minutes. So that kind of should be, in my opinion, should be tweaked or,
Okay, and so that,
Yeah, you can, it says in here that you can extend that without any problem.
Right.
So 15 minutes is really a non-issue,
yeah.
right.
because you
Yeah.
can, if the people want to share things, that's appropriate. So if it goes 25 minutes, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then in number 3, it says they will speak for no longer than 3 minutes, so maybe
Right.
we have to change that too.
No,
No,
they're
that's-
saying that we're gonna have
15
a
minute is the total
15-minute
thing.
Okay.
total time,
So then you
so,
can only have 5.
yeah.
Yeah, but 3 minutes is a long time.
It is.
When you think about it, 3 minutes is a long time.
Yes.
So,
I'm not on talk radio. Sorry, I just had to throw that in. But anyway, okay, so one thing about restricting comments to tenants, that's not a violation of the open meeting law, because some people have been, have said that's an interpretation, because,
Well,
is
it's
it
not,
because you don't have to have this session and it's at the discretion of the board whether they even permit it? Obviously, Northampton
Right.
doesn't permit it.
yeah, I mean, according to him, no, it doesn't violate it. I mean, I included citizens, because there might be items that we're doing that pertain to to neighbors, or, something that it might come up. I did the tenants, but then I did the tenants' family, members, because some of them are to the point where they really can't advocate for themselves. So if a tenant, if a family member wanted to address the board about something, then they would, that would be okay. So that's why I included those in there.
Okay, I was just curious, because we have that in there, but then we have a town that actually restricts that to keep it more focused to the
Right.
residents.
Right, and then I just, Northampton is a much larger housing authority than we are. They have,
And is the board's prerogative there, they have the right
right,
to say no public comment. We
Right.
just don't permit it. You have another process, okay.
Right.
So what do we think is in here, just to pick up on the public comment earlier? How are the tenants affected by what we have in front of us now? How are they affected?
I think that, this is how I've been on the fence since this first came up, to be honest with you. This is tantamount to like a gag order coming down from the bench in a high-profile criminal trial or a contentious divorce trial where parties don't talk about it. I don't know. I mean, I know it went by a lawyer, and I will reserve my comments on what I feel about lawyers. But he's playing around with constitutional rights here too. The First Amendment you can't even limit.
Yes, you can. There's no
Yeah.
First Amendment right here, if you
Oh,
look
of
at
course
it.
there is, Joe. We're citizens.
You pay, yes, but you are renting. You have the option of renting here or renting elsewhere, so that these organizations have the right. There is no unrestricted freedom here, because otherwise we couldn't set the rules. Why do we even have a policy? Because people went nuts and started attacking each other. People like
Well, isn't
people
it the
we
job of
started
the board, particularly the chairman of the board, to control the floor?
How do you control the floor? You give them a chance to speak, they come up. What am I going to do?
Your board members, your fellow board members have to back you on that.
Okay, then one way to control that is to not permit it, like Northampton, which is the right of the facility, but we don't really want to do that. We want the tenants, I've always felt, ever since I've been on the board, and before, when people got upset with me because I was trying to elicit feedback from tenants and stuff like that, and I always felt that, yeah, even though there's going to be some chaos and there's going to be some feelings, it's important because you guys all live here. You know, this is your place. We're more like caretakers of the financials and stuff to get to a level that we can get, because there's never going to be an unlimited pot of money from the state. I mean, we know what we really need to do to these units, but that will never happen because that funding doesn't exist. I mean, the governor's now talking about, you know, maybe $200 million for some new public housing units finally after, what, a 30 or 40-year moratorium. So part of the reason, from my perspective at least, on why we're putting out these guidelines is things just got too out of control. I mean, personal attacks, you know, I mean, you know, this dropped off to me. I took a quick look at it. That's, you know, they're mentioning my name in public. I feel like I'm, you know, people want their privacy too. And so part of the reason for the policy is we need to control. You know, before we always would respond to everything that a tenant said. But maybe that's not always the best policy. I mean, I do analysis, and I mean, oftentimes, okay, the client's anxious, you know, I got to finish thinking through that. It may take me a week before I'm finally done with how I should really decide or figure out what can really be done. So I understand what you're saying about that, but if we adhere to that rule, then anybody can come up and start doing the exact same thing, and that is
But
not
you're also
good.
opening another can of worms that's going to come in and bite you in the ass at some point.
And what's that?
People are going to get all these people, I can see it, I can see people bringing in advocates, pluralized, so that they can have their say, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So-
I think, yeah,
So then I don't have a public comment, and they can bring their advocate and go through either the grievance process, which is what we've been trying to get everybody to go to instead of bringing the grievance here, follow the protocol of DHCD. So Tammy's been working really hard on trying to get everybody to go through that grievance process and put up with that so we can get through it, because then at least, hey, look, you know, I mean, nobody gets their way all the time. Nobody's even right all the time. A grievance process at least says, you know, that's like why we have laws, you know, so even if people don't agree with the final decision, we sort of feel like it was at least a just process, it was a fair process, there was some respect there, maybe we can move on. okay? But if we don't have that, that's a problem. And if we have the same free-for-all that can, because once people start, I can't control it, you know? I mean, you know, I guess I gotta bring in a guard or somebody to shut it down or something like that.
Can you make a comment, Joe?
Sure.
The system we've had in place for over 50 years has worked well. The only reason this is an issue now is because one board member got their feathers ruffled. It's the only reason this whole issue is coming up now. Just common sense. Everybody just
Oh, I thought it was
uses common
about,
sense.
no, but I thought it was about tenants getting ruffled. And I thought it was about what was going on with tenants and maintenance people in terms of what was going on. That's what I remember about that. People were taking sides on everything.
But this thing boils down to that you're trying to put something together that's protectionism for the board. I don't think it's necessary, it's not needed. All of this in this policy that you're pushing now is overkill, in my opinion. It was never an issue before, why is it now? Because of one meeting where a few people got out of hand, I might have been one of them.
Well,
And I apologized for it.
okay, but there were multiple meetings and building up. And maybe our detailed policy is that. So I think, should we give the tenants till our next meeting to let them look at it? But the goal is we're gonna have, but the end goal, okay, no.
It's our
The end
policy.
goal is to have a policy, period. Because it's a guideline. We need a policy. We went on, but once you have a breakdown, you need a policy to bring people back in alignment. Maybe you don't have to focus on it anymore, and now you start giving more leeway because everybody's more civil and it works out better. But right now, we need a policy to make sure that we can bring some harmony back to the community instead of people using this as an.
Okay, Joe, I'll grant you that.
Okay.
And Diane also just said we do have a policy. It was my impression that this policy has not been voted on yet.
It hasn't.
Correct.
Therefore, it is not a policy that is endorsed by the board. But if this policy goes through, then I would have to really endorse a tenants association. I mean, a true tenant association, not what I was talked down to by the previous director.
Hey, I agree. Hey, you guys want a tenants association? You do that. DHCD has rules, you got an
Right.
association, you vote members, but you can have a voice and an impact that way. But understand that people need to be committed to it because
Yes.
because there is a bureaucratic process when you do that. And I fully endorse the tenants association. I was always disappointed when it was an informal one instead of a formal one, but I accepted the fact that, man, to be formal, there's a lot of extra work to do.
There is a lot of work.
Okay,
And obviously, I can't get into it with my position on the board,
yes,
but I still think it's needed here.
okay.
And I think that will help deal with other issues.
Well, then in your role and your position on the board, but also as a resident, you're the person who, from a board standpoint, you know, has the position to go out and talk that up among tenants and saying, and sell that to them on here's why, and here's why you need to commit 4 hours a week of volunteer work to making that happen.
Yeah.
Because, make no mistake, I mean, you know, these things can be time consuming, but yes, that could be of great benefit
Okay.
to the tenants. You know, I don't disagree with that. I just feel strongly, as does Diane right now, that for the time being, we need a policy. And Tammy did a good job of researching that. And yes, when I read it, yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. But it's pretty detailed. But she did leave open the right of everybody to be recognized to talk. You know, she didn't, you know, clamp down like South Hadley that says, hey, only residents of, you know, of our places can do that. So.
And policies, I mean, one of our requirements is to set policy. Just
Correct.
If this policy is voted today, it can be changed. If it doesn't work in 3 months, it's changed. It can be changed or done away with. And I don't see anything different in here besides telling the tenants, and I've been here a few years, we've had public speak out. I don't think anyone's ever spoken more than 3 minutes. It's fast. There's more discussion that we maybe get into about it, but even then, it's hard to get into discussion about something that we might not know anything about. Especially if there were things in the past that talk about work orders. According to this, we as a board have nothing to do with work orders. We have nothing to do with them.
That's right.
Period. So we shouldn't even listen to that. I mean, that's between the tenant and you. You know, if they want to
Yep.
tell us that, well, I turned a work order in 8 months ago and it still isn't fixed, then we maybe should be aware of that. And we have to stretch that a bit so that we're not taking anything away from the tenants. But it seems to me we give this a try. It should work. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. And I would only see, the only difference would be that we're giving you 3 minutes. That's the only thing that maybe the tenant will be affected by. But they can put it in writing. If they want to give us an 18-minute description, here, I'm turning it into you. We read it ourselves at some point. So I don't think we're taking anything away from the tenants specifically. That's my feeling, so. In regardless to how
Okay,
Don
well-
feels and how our former board member feels.
Here, just a second. Okay, so since we're probably going to vote on it, do you have a copy of it?
I have a copy.
And you've read it?
Hmm?
Have you read it yet?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And so which of the sections do you have an issue with, or is it just a general thing that everybody else should have the right to? I mean, if you had something you wanted us to, is there anything that you
Yeah.
would want us to change?
Number one, item one on there. 15-minute public comment. Seems as though it shouldn't be there, period. No amount of time. Not everybody is going to speak for 3 minutes. Not everybody's going to speak for a minute. That's overkill, putting a time limit on it. For everybody, when it's just one person at a time going to be dealing with it, why do you need to put a limit on what they're going to say? In my mind, that's an infringement on free speech,
To keep
my
it-
opinion.
Well,
We could put a
Next is number
limited
3.
public comment.
no,
Well, no,
okay.
I'm sorry, I got it in reverse. The first one was 15 minutes for public comments.
Yes.
That's bad. I mean, if they're 3 minutes each and 5 people speak for the 3 minutes, then you're shutting the rest of the tenants down. That's dead wrong. I don't agree with that whatsoever. Again, the next one was the 3 minutes I already addressed. Next, number four, why should employees not be able to express their opinion on what's happening around here?
Because they're employees.
I'm sorry?
Because they're employees. Not because they're public citizens, because
So they
they're
could
employees.
speak as a
We
resident.
have a chain of command, okay? Our director here is responsible for maintenance. If she wants to recognize Dakota to speak on an issue, like for example, we both want him to speak on the heat pump issue, then we could recognize that. But
So, what would stop an employee from saying, I'm speaking as a resident, or I'm speaking as a town resident?
I
What would
suppose
stop
there
them
would
from
be
speaking?
nothing. But then if they spoke like that, then I would turn around and just cut it off, because if they spoke as though it sort of moved into the workplace there, then basically I, as chairman, would cut the dialogue off and just not recognize that anymore, as is my.
So what you're doing is shutting down an employee that can bring something constructive to the meeting.
Why look, here is part of the problem. Part of the problem is how far should each of us get into the business of organizations or people that work around that, you know? We shouldn't. I mean, in order to run efficiently, we have to have a certain level of distance, because so we do our job instead of someone else coming in and giving their input. We are hired, here's our workload, here's our work order, here's the other thing I do. Yes, I can be pleasant, social to you and all that kind of stuff, but this is my job. And so The point being is that you should, in a situation like this, not talk about that. Just like we have, it is not in our power or purvey to influence over here in terms of how she manages her business, except to the point that if we don't feel that she is doing the job, then when the contract comes up, we have the power not to renew that because we don't feel that the environment is being managed in the way that it could or it should, okay? So that's where we have that. But until that point, it is Tammy's position and her responsibility to basically run that. And DHCD has made that very clear to all of us. That's why we can't talk about the only thing we can talk about in private session is our director's performance or about the contract, okay, within a limited area. Otherwise, the attorney has sat out there and said, hey, we want everything to be as public as possible. But that's our position. So, you know, I mean, your critique is accepted, but we feel very strongly that it should be in there that employees do not speak out on anything related to the business here. If they have an individual comment or something that's not related to that, otherwise it's the chain of command. And that's part of what we've been trying to get back to. The grievance process, the work order process. Tenants follow certain procedures and everything gets done. And so we need that to sort of get back to a better workflow and make it more harmonious. Doesn't mean we don't try to be flexible, it just means that we need to follow this course in order to, you know, better manage the situation. So.
The next item I have is, the Board of Directors will not hear personal charges or complaints concerning GHA personnel nor against any member of the GHA Board of Directors or the GHA community.
Because we have no right.
There's overkill.
No, but that's a clarification from the lawyer. We have the right to do that.
You guys have got a different mindset than I do then. I mean, all of this is just, every single item on here is protectionism for GHA and notably the Board of Directors.
Okay.
That's all that this is about, is protecting you guys.
It's
I can
all
appreciate some of it, but not all of it, Joe.
Okay, duly noted. What I would respond to you in that point is that when you put together documents, and because of the way these public organizations run, you have to spell out a lot of little details. Oh, you didn't deal with that, so now is that an exception? Do we go to court? So in terms of how Tammy approached it, yeah, maybe it is overkill, but what it's doing is it's addressing all those things that the lawyer felt that we should address in writing. It's all there. He said, hey, you know, this all fits. This meets DHCD guidelines and standards, and that's why it's in there. There's a lot of documents that are overkill. You know, I hate to have to read them because, you know, they got to set everything in 2 or 3 pages instead of 20. But, you know, from that standpoint, I just feel strongly that that information should remain in here. I think that from my perspective, yeah, maybe if you're concerned, then let's give public comment 45 minutes and accept the fact that we would have a 2-hour meeting if in fact that happened. Maybe it's 30 minutes. The goal again is to get things back in a good orderly workflow and take the personal stuff that we've been faced with over the last year out of the meetings.
I agree with the getting control part, but I think you got to tone this down quite a bit from where it is. My opinion.
Okay.
And the last thing I have is, could you define for me a matter inappropriate for public comment?
What number?
That's a very ambiguous term right there. That's at the last of number 7.
Well, according to DHCD, anything that mentions a tenant's name in any public comment is something that is not permitted. We have violated their privacy. So every time, so you may want to talk about something and not, and it's related to an issue, and we understand that. But, we're not supposed to mention names. We're not supposed to publish names. Tammy was forced to redo one of our minutes because it had a name in there, to redact it, okay? So that's, that sort of clarifies it and, maintains that narrow focus that we need to. Because we don't want to violate the privacy. I mean, that's become a big issue. This letter to me and the board, this is about, hey, you guys violated my privacy by talking about me by name in a meeting because somebody mentioned that individual's name. And so we're just trying to comply with that too.
Finally, I realize that the tenants have no say in creating policy. And I want to thank you all for listening to my opinions on things. And I hope you'll seriously consider toning this down a little bit. Just a little bit too much. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
How about if we change the 15 minutes in number 1 to a limited public comment?
Yeah, but I think it's already there that, Joe, we're not gonna, if 6
I know.
people come, we're not gonna cut anybody off.
Yeah,
We're
I
not gonna
know.
do that.
But
That's
then
not what we
This
wanna
just
do.
takes that out. It takes
It
the
just
15
takes it out.
minutes. I
It's
should
just-
put limited or.
Well, you could, but I think a presiding chairperson may permit extension of the time limit. I think
Oh, okay.
even though,
Oh,
and if
yeah,
we,
okay.
if the
Oh, because
chairperson
we have
started
that
to cut
in
them
there
off, I
already.
think we as a board would say, wait a minute, no, we need to hear more. So I think gives us, and I don't feel I'm protected by this by anything. We want to hear from people if they have something to say, but if there's issues going on, and I always think, we always like to view as public comment as being negative. We always think people are going to bring up something negative. Here's an opportunity for someone to come in and say, hey, things are really working well here from my perspective, da-da-da-da. I mean, that's always good to hear.
Yeah.
So we always don't have to think everything is negative. Why do we think negative all the time? I think positively, this gives some direction to what we want to hear. Why can't people come and tell us what it? There's nothing here that's going to stop any tenant, I think, from coming and telling us something, good, bad, or indifferent. Lay it on the table, if it's appropriate. I want them to come and say, I just turned a work order in last week, and I haven't seen anybody yet. We don't need to hear that. That's not what we need to hear. That's not going to do any good for anybody, except to raise an ire, and people are going to take sides. Oh yeah, mine was never done either, or mine was taken care of right away. How come mine took 4 days? And then we look at all this kind of stuff. It's like, we as a board don't need to hear that kind of stuff. I don't think so.
No,
And
can
I
we
don't
do
think,
anything about it?
yeah, because we can't, what do we want us to do? Well, can you take care of that? I mean, the director's going to hear it anyway, so we'd have to assume, common sense says it'll be taken care of or addressed, period. And I'm sure the office is open when you are here or your secretary's here or phone calls. Things should be done. People have issues. They shouldn't wait a month later to lay it upon us to do something about.
Right.
Tenants have that power to do that, I think, on a regular basis. That's what I would do if I was living here. Things are right. Open door policy. Let's see what we need to do here. So I think this is worth a shot to give it a try. And if it doesn't work after a couple of months, then I'll be the first to say we got to change it, to follow up on something. Otherwise, I think it's ready to get it going and see what happens come August's meeting.
Okay. Okay, then if that's what you want to do, then we need a motion to approve.
Well,
And we need a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the public participation at the board of directors meeting that we have in front of us. And then, I think it was, excuse me, at the last meeting, someone said it's going to be posted once we vote on it. So I assume if this passes today, then it should be posted on the board right after this meeting. And let the tenants know that's here, and hopefully,
I'll post it on the board after the meeting, and tomorrow I'll have Shelley deliver our copies to everybody's doors.
I second.
Okay. Any further comment?
I would prefer the tenants see the whole thing before we vote on it. That would be my preference. But I'm not going to say, let's not vote on it. I'm just stating my preference, and I'll vote accordingly.
Okay. Well, since we have a second, we still have to vote on it.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So all in favor?
Aye.
aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and then we'll see how it goes. But Jim, I do appreciate all your comments and, we'll see what happens. Okay,
All right, there are no financials. Gary was here today to get all the paperwork for the end of the year. He said he would get it to us as soon as possible.
okay, the next thing then is the warrant report that everybody has. And I just thought it was odd that on the group insurance commission withholding, we had a distribution amount of 33 cents. But anyway.
Yeah, so, the July, the premium went up, and it didn't go, the first check didn't go out with the premium
I
going
see.
up. So,
Okay. Okay. And so are we paying solar operator costs, that's on page 2? Are we paying them every other month? Is that how it works, or is it when they come up with a bill? Or
So this bill,
May, June? Right?
yeah, so they run mid-month to mid-month.
I see.
So
Okay,
it's,
so this is a 1-month fee.
It's a 1-month fee, yeah.
And is it, do you recall if that fee has been about the same amount every month?
Yeah, it's roughly somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000.
So we can be paying, we're paying 50 to 60,000 a year? Okay. Tractor fuel, vacancy.
What's an emergency line, Tammy?
Where are you?
Page 4, third one down.
Oh, that's the maintenance emergency line, the on-call line.
Oh.
And then at the end, we've got our bank statement. The last two pages, is that correct?
Page 6?
Yeah, page 5 and 6.
Page 5 and 6.
So this is the support related to up here? See,
Oh, so this is just the way this is,
That's just from
that's
people's,
just-
that's just the bank account that
Right,
we had asked
right.
for. So.
no, so this is, every month it says for Peoples, because you have, when you pull the report, if you have more than one bank, you can tell it
I
to
see.
pull what
Yeah.
it is to pull. So that's just, it comes out every month with the dates.
Okay, that's fine. Which is actually on every page.
Right.
Yeah.
So now
I missed that.
Yeah.
I'm
The-
focused on that, and I'm going, whoa,
Gary had asked us to, the checking accounts have to be interest-bearing. Two of them weren't, the laundry account and the pet account, so I've closed the laundry account and transferred it into the checking account, the main checking account. In order to open up a new pet account, I need your signatures. It has to be interest-bearing, and we have to donate the interest every year to an animal shelter.
Okay.
So I have that paperwork for you
Okay.
guys to sign.
Not that in today's market, that interest is gonna be
Yep.
very.
Yep.
33
Geez,
cents.
Good thing
here's
I don't have to-
$1.33. Anyway, okay. Any other questions on the warrant?
No.
Okay, then I need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrant report for transactions between 7/1/2021 and 7/31/2021.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Okay, so do we have anticipated items?
Those.
Yes. I am, okay, so we've got,
This
now
is what we need to
again,
see?
okay, this is from 3 different individuals. And since they have names, we should not read anything aloud, but since he gave it to us, I guess everybody should read it. But then it should all go to Tammy, because this is tenant related, it appears to be. So why don't each of you take, and
Do you
then
want
we'll
me to make
rotate it.
copies for it? No? Okay.
If you want, it doesn't matter. No, let's not make a bigger paper
Okay.
trail, okay? So, I guess this is our last item today.
Mhm.
You said we all had to sign something?
Yeah, I have it right here.
Okay, so we still need to,
Yep, we need to sign checks.
all the bank thing too, for everybody, right? So
Yep.
we could, okay, but that'll be after,
Yeah.
okay. That'll be after we adjourn.
That's the most confusing thing I've read. It says the same thing about 3 times in a different way. I can't
Well, let's just read it. And then we'll- haven't read that one yet.
that one yet. So it's mostly about parking. No one is, except for the handicap spots, no one is assigned a parking spot, correct?
No, everybody has an assigned.
Everyone has a parking spot.
A parking
For
spot.
their vehicle.
Right,
Not
every-
for their family or their
Nope,
help or
for
anything.
their vehicle.
Yeah.
If they don't have a vehicle, they don't have a spot.
Yeah, and that's DHCD mandated. So that is not,
Okay, so this will be a grievance that you'll start with the first process and go through that to re-explain, that's the,
Right, so we have parking spots that are by ramps and by the handicapped apartments that are technically for those units if the tenant has a vehicle. If the tenant doesn't have a vehicle, then they don't need the park, and we can put whoever we want there.
okay. Well, I'm assuming in her thing, it's
Yep.
about where she,
Yeah, because I knew that, because I moved her.
oh, okay, that's fine. Well, parking's always a problem.
yeah. You should have seen what it was like before these extra spots. I mean, there were 4 visitor parking spots and that's it.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad then.
Is that another one, Tammy?
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, I'm
Just
sorry.
curious.
That's your last one.
Oh, that's got the same thing.
Yeah,
That's just
basically,
him.
yes. One's handed.
Oh, this, okay.
Read page 1.
Okay. Oh, my God.
I know. I skimmed.
You're the terror color. Okay.
This one you're saying?
Yeah, we've all read
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, there's no rent for the parking spots.
yeah. So on the new bylaws, some people put a recommendation of a couple of quote consultants to hire in order to decide what you're doing.
In town, you
Remember
mean?
that? Yeah, remember
Well, I
when
got
they
the
wanted
email
to vote
from,
that?
I got the email from Kathy Kelly.
Yeah,
About
you
that.
got that too. Okay.
Oh, and my email is back running.
Okay.
What is that one all about, Tammy?
I don't know, I haven't read it yet.
Oh, yeah.
This one?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I know.
You know who that's from?
I don't
Okay,
know, I
so
haven't
those
looked at
would
it.
be two, no, those would
Did
be
you see
two
this part?
separate.
What the heck?
I know.
What?
So you haven't seen,
No.
Oh, my.
No, that's the final one, that,
Oh, dear.
Wow.
those two
Page
were
two.
related to the same thing.
and is that an issue anymore, or?
Well, we had a tenant move and she moved from
Yeah.
one building to the next, and she wanted a parking spot over there, so I gave him that spot, because he doesn't have a vehicle.
So that's okay.
Mhm.
So that's all
Yeah,
set.
well,
Yeah.
that's the guidelines, you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
assigned a spot if you don't
Yeah.
have a car.
Yeah, okay.
So,
And that they sign that when they come in, they read it, they sign it, it's in
Well,
there.
no, I mean, it's not in the lease that you don't have a spot if you don't have a car, but
Yeah.
you don't need a spot if you don't have a car.
let me check the second page.
Can't even imagine.
That one's sad. That's pretty sad.
That was the year 2020, right?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to know that fact.
Sad.
Anyway, okay, so basically, the way we deal with this, or I believe we should, is through the grievance process. So in each of the two cases, they would meet with Tammy. We would follow that. If they don't agree with, that we don't have a resolution or anything, then they have the right to request that we go forward, and then we do the grievance hearing again, like we've done with past tenants, where, where another former director would come in and listen to all sides and then go away and then render an opinion
Yeah.
and decision, so. Okay,
So, do you want some explanation on this?
well, we can't do that in
Okay.
a
Well,
public.
we don't have
meeting.
to say names,
Yeah.
she can give us a basic.
So the pictures were being taken of her stuff still on the lawn, which stopped him from doing his job.
Like lawn decorations and
Yep.
things? Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
She had come outside, asked if he had wanted water, yet she says that she was in the shower. You can't, where the bathroom is, there's no way to
To see this.
see in
Yeah,
um,
to the shower.
to the
Okay.
shower.
Okay.
So, blinds are very difficult to get. We have since been able to piecemeal enough for the apartment, except for one double in each of the apartments up there. Well, actually, hers and another one.
Mhm.
But blinds are on the endangered species right now.
As are
Yeah.
so many
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
So,
She does have things in her window, though. We did the inspections the other day, and she does have curtains in them. So it's not like they're blank
it's not like
windows.
it's, okay.
Okay.
Right.
So, again, that requires a hearing.
Yep.
And you may suggest to that specific tenant that perhaps they ask their caregiver to come along or somebody, given that she's addressed that specific health issue. No, I'm talking about this,
Oh,
because if you read,
yeah, I didn't read the whole
Yeah.
thing.
no, if you read the end, this is
PTSD.
what Connie,
No, they're not.
that's what she's saying. No, out there from a long time ago.
Oh,
And she suffers this and this. So I'm just saying that you need to consider that.
Well,
Oh,
once
okay.
she
Okay.
gets a chance to read it all, she'll address
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. Okay. So, anything else?
Next
Okay, then I
meeting
need a
date.
motion to adjourn.
Next meeting date, you wanna do that
Oh.
now?
I'm trying not to have another meeting. No.
Well, August is around the corner.
Yeah,
Then we have the time frame again. Afternoon, evening,
Well,
mid-morning.
For what turned up today, I don't have a stake in it anymore, so.
so when would he have the year-end financials done? Should we do it the last week of August because that would give him more time, or that doesn't matter?
He said that he would be working on them next week, so I expect
Okay.
them, honestly, I expect them the first week of August.
Wednesday, the 25th of August?
That's the fourth Wednesday?
Yeah.
Depending on the time, that's, I believe, is the first day of school. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
So
Then,
what time would work for you?
Well,
on the
during,
24th? Can you guys, I think we've avoided Tuesdays for some reason, right?
I think we switched to Wednesdays because last year we didn't go to school on Wednesdays. We only
Yeah.
went to school Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So I think that's why we switched to Wednesdays.
No, I'm just asking, does anybody have an issue with, because you won't start on the 24th, right?
I don't believe so, no.
Well, you can find out a meet, and
Yeah.
if not, then we'll
Yeah.
move it to the, can everybody do
I
the
mean,
24th?
I can do 2 in the afternoon for the meetings once a month, but just not on the first day of school.
Okay. Is 2 o'clock still okay, or are we trying to get back to 6:30?
I don't know.
No, nobody wants 6:30 but Gloria.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, I'm self-employed, so.
What time do you want?
I'm flexible.
Yeah, but
Some days are worse than
6:30 is
others.
Yeah.
worst.
Yep, okay, 2 o'clock.
So what
There's the
day?
24th, Joe?
24th, Tuesday, August 24th at 2 PM. Okay,
Okay.
The
okay,
knitting club will appreciate that.
okay. Then I need a
They're
motion.
Wednesdays at 1.
Sure. I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, adjourned.